Quan Tong Ling Ming. Sit in a really good position. Look straight forward. Tongue tip is resting on the upper palate. Draw your vision back. Gently closing the eyes. Lifting from Bai Hui. Relax the whole body. Relax the head and face. Relax the throat and neck. Relax the shoulders and arms. Relax the chest cavity and the upper back. Relax the abdominal cavity and the lower back. Make sure your lower back is upright and slightly arched inwards. Direction abdomen. Not completely hollowed, just very slightly arched inwards. Kidney chi can flow well, bladder chi flows well. Relax your pelvis. Think chi at Hui Yin and lift chi up to lower Dantian. Think about holding the chi field of Hui Yin under Dantian. You can put on the little device that Janse has imaginary showed us, the little cup with the two hooks that holds Hui Yin up, so it stays closed throughout the whole web class. Relax your legs down. Go inwards to build the chi field. Unify yourself as chi. Become aware of the void inside. Expand this unified Shen chi field into all directions, far beyond into the universe, where you are merging with universal original Yuan Chi. Yuan Chi is the foundation for everything, and that's what you are. Draw Chi back around to healing kidneys and bladder and all the organs. And gently open your eyes, unless you prefer to listen with closed eyes, but I'm going to show you a few things. Again, a few pictures, but today first I'm going to read to you the story that I finally found, where I have stored it from one of the students, because there has been some discrepancies, when I told the story free out of my head, I didn't get some things right, some facts right. Not that anybody was complaining, but I found this story, of course, after web class. Remember, last week's web class I was looking for the story. And so I read it and I'm like, oh, I didn't do that justice. And especially since I have told you that I don't know much about PhD levels, and so I'm going to read the story to you. Hi Andrea, a little story regarding a special experience I had in the Chi field. Today I watched your web class, Healing Organs, Lungs, number 4, about implementation. I built the Chi field and listened to your teaching. Suddenly, I needed to go to the toilet. Just pressed the web class pause button and went. Because of my wife's cancer diagnosis, we regularly test the pH in the urine to keep it neutral or slightly alkaline. Brackets pH 7.0 to 7.6. Because cancer cells grow in an acidic environment below pH 7.0, and because the cancer cells get harmed or die in an alkaline environment, pH 8 and above. Everyone has some cancer cells, and a functioning immune system takes care of it. I would like to read this phrase one more time. Everyone has some cancer cells, and a functioning immune system takes care of it. But it doesn't harm to test it from time to time. I always put health and fight cancer information in the Chi field, building process. And when I measured the pH of the urine, this time during web class, I measured 8.0 exclamation mark. I would like to repeat this phrase also one more time. I always put health and fight cancer information in the Chi field building process. And when I measured the pH of the urine this time, during my web class P, I measured 8.0 exclamation mark. See the attached photo for the testing strip. I never ever measured that before. Normally I am happy when it goes up to pH 7.2. So I continued watching the web class, and a bit later measured again, and the pH was down to 6.8, light years away from the pH 8.0 in the Chi field. Of course, a constant pH of 8.0 wouldn't be good for the body, but a short burst will kill many cancer cells. It was for me an incredible moment and really showed me the power of Qi. I am absolutely thrilled. Thank you very much, Frank. Oops, now I read the name. Oh well, I guess he's okay with it. Okay, so I just needed to get the facts right about the levels of, acidic and alkaline levels and the numbers. So, this story comes from a student. He is not a doctor. This is what he has learned from Western medicine and from his doctors. If in any case you would be using this, I feel like I should put this phrase, do not try this at home. But, really research it and get acquainted with all the information if you're starting to use any of these informations. The other story I would like to read from you is from a woman who is in Italy. And of course there's no classes, so it's great that she can join the web class. I really enjoyed this last web class, like them all, and out of the anatomical information you gave us came a renewed gong ching for my body. For a couple of months I have had a lower back problem around the sacroiliac joint. Not debilitating pain, but discomfort and a lack of mobility, with no real change. For a couple of months, right? With this web class, I saw that I'd been regarding it as a nuisance. And I decided to make peace with it, accept it, and send kind thoughts to this. Send kind thoughts there. There was almost an instant improvement. Exclamation mark. Right? So, the information seems to work, even if we don't even practice. Never underestimate the power of information. Never underestimate the power of the connection of Shen to your physical health via the Qi, and because the Qi carries the information, and your outside world and your inside world. Information is coming from the external, and it also comes from the internal, right? There's one other little story, which is from a student. She's very in tune with me. She picks up on information, and it's just interesting to hear. It's not much, it's just a little one. So this student writes, "Hey Andrea, I just listened to the web class. Somewhere in the beginning, I felt like sound switched from my right ear to the left. And I thought for a while I can hear only with the left ear. And then later, you started to talk about ears and kidney connection. I was pulling Qi all the time and felt strong pulsating in my palms, if it is like spiral movements. As if it is like spiral movements." She's Russian, so she also has some issues with the language, like me. So thank you for the strong information. Also, lots of interesting facts came up while you were talking. I learned to read with 3 years old, and before school I could read fluently. Kidney class, interesting, because it feeds the brain, right? About brainwashing, about fear, being in fear lots of time, and home, and PTSD. When I had those big panic attacks in summer, all the symptoms were like PTSD. Well, the diagnosis the psychotherapist gave me was panic disorder. And now she relates it more to kidney information. And as, I don't know, we all know it because I told you, I read you her story that a few months back, that her, she doesn't need any pills anymore for the anxiety and panic attacks, and she's off all of medication around that, and she's also the one who is now hanging her head out of the window cancer or not, and just loving her days and loving her her life. Most of the time, of course, we're not that stable yet, but it's getting there. So, thank you for this, guys. Um, there's also been a really other beautiful feedback of a student in Austria, but that's a big one, and I would like to continue with Kidney Chi, but actually, it just popped into my mind. The student is also very sensitive to information and really works hard. Has done the 2-day basic workshop with me, and since that day actually always practices pretty regularly, has had great results. It's now about a year, maybe a year and a half, not sure. Now, after 1 year and a half, deeper changes start to happen. Of course, right now she goes through them. They seem a little bit scary because it's regarding of work, so it's regarding existential needs. Existence is the chi of kidneys, right? Remember the prenatal chi? All the information is stored within your kidney chi, and because kidney chi is in such close connection with Shen, and kidney chi is taking care of the prenatal chi. And fear is the topic of our class today, because fear is the emotion of kidneys. And for now, she still is in not a very comfortable place, but she has had some very deep insights into how extremely stressed and pressured she feels in her job, and how she would have never even thought to get over the comfortable things like close to home, very good pay, very, very nice job from the aspects of job description. So she likes it, I guess you could call her a career woman as well. But for somehow she becomes very aware of all this pressure, and she just, I guess what is happening is that, through learning about totality, all the beautiful things, we learn in Renshe, she becomes aware about the value of her life, which is Kidney Chi, a little bit more. I don't know, hold on, a little bit more might not even be the right information, just more expanded understanding of the importance and value and purpose of a life. And so she has made the decision to actually change her job. She doesn't have another one yet, but on that day, the email of Janse of the full moon practice and the little, you could almost call it a poem, I think, the poem about trust. Remember the few lines about trust, which is very good information to use as a replacement information when you have problems with kidneys and fear and anxiety. You all have got it, it's the poem that Janse wrote us, this full moon practice. That came in, I sent that out that day, and so she just completely relaxed into it, and we'll see what happens with her. I'm not saying, I've never told her to leave her job. It's a development of her, but every time we talk, she tells me of how stressful and how she, that job is, and how she always seems to get sick. It's gotten much better since she's doing Ren Shui. She can catch it often, but how often wiped out she is after the finish of a project and things like that. So there's deep information is working within all of us when we work with Ren Shui, and I'm telling this story today, so in a while back, it might be a few months, it might be a few years, I will talk again about this student and her development and her job, maybe. And I think maybe I just have this impression that it will be a beautiful story about trust, and we can all see how it was applied, because neither her nor me know how her future is going to look like. And, this shows of growing kidney chi getting healthier. So Shen chi is getting healthier, kidney chi is getting healthier, the understanding about her life is getting healthier, and now her responsibility is getting stronger, and her courage to is getting stronger, her trust is getting stronger into life. And so she decided to, I don't think even it's much of a decision completely only, because it has to do with insight and knowledge. It has to do with a developed understanding, which is what we call wisdom. And wisdom would be stored in kidney chi. And I think it's going to be interesting for all of us. It's a little bit like we can use it because she shared this information with me, and I share it with you. I know she's okay with me sharing this story with you. We're going to use this as an experiment. We're going to use her as our guinea pig. And I think that the chi field and the universe will prove us right. No? Will prove us how it is good to trust, into trust. How when we make decisions that are healthier and more beneficial for us and our life and also others, no matter how serious they seem to be or how crazy they seem to be, because a lot of us humans put the existential fear first and make decisions on grounds of money, for example. And if you can leave a job or not, I know a little bit about that because that's what I used to do. That's what I did. I left my beautiful husband because I thought I could promote Ren Shui better in, when I'm traveling and moving. And I left my private clinic that was going very well at that time, a different health modality, and well, it's going really well. I couldn't be much happier. If I could reach more people with Ren Shui so they could be also, using Ren Shui to, have all those positive results that I have got from Ren Shui and from living totality to the best of my abilities. I could do a lot better, but, we'll do what we can, and that's what we stick with. And I think that this particular student of the story I told today will have great benefits from her thought processes and her ideas, and her trust trying into something else, simply through the awareness that her thinking and her thought process was really about, is this really giving me a lot of purpose? Am I putting my health, am I putting money and security on money reasons above all else? We're not saying money is a reality. We do need money in our life. We have bills to pay, and we need to buy food, or we need to make it. But then you can't do anything else really when you make your own food. And So we all need to take care of money. But if we're getting to a place in our life where our kidney chi is completely destroyed or wasted away, so we constantly get sick, we only live under anxiety and pressure and fear, that would also be influencing your spleen chi. And do you remember in the K cycle, the controlling cycle, earth, spleen, pancreas chi is actually controlling kidney chi. So when pressure and anxiety are controlling kidney chi, in the end, only fear can get stronger. And that's what I would like to talk about today a little bit, fear. You already know, because I've already told you in a few other web classes, that the emotion of water, kidney and bladder, is fear. Okay, the associated emotion, we have to say, right? First of all, let's think, what is the positive aspect of that? So what if when fear is absence, so to speak? We've talked about this last time a little bit. We have then the willpower and courage, the will to survive, the will to make change, the will to live our life in a purposeful way. Can you see now why I've talked about this student who is making big decisions to change her life in a big way, with the purpose to taking better care of her health? When the will can get so strong that your will to survive is basically not ruled or governed by fear anymore, but by trust and willpower to live a purposeful life and a beautiful life, then we can make decisions that will bring a lot of benefits. As I said, for me, say it will bring a lot of benefits because that's what I did. And I had to do it. I had no choice. No matter how difficult it seemed and how crazy it seemed to me at the time to trying to actually make, a simple living but existential living of teaching Ren Shui. Let's face it, there is not millions of people just yet facing themselves that closely on that level. Yeah? So there's not yet millions of people running to Ren Shui because there's deep fears that we all need to face about our life. Those fears are so deep that we don't even are aware of it. This is why we need to work with Qi, so we can gather more Qi, strengthen Dantian Qi, strengthen Shen Qi, our mind Qi, our kidney Qi, so we can have a stronger will and a stronger courage. But with having a stronger will, I'm not talking about having to barrel through everything and like, I can do this, I do this. That's an unhealthy way of seeing a strong will. And when we constantly are in this state of, it's okay, I don't feel pain, and I can do this, and I have no fear, and do you know those persons? That's how I used to be. And this is, a lot of kidney chi and a lot of adrenal chi, a lot of nerve chi is being used because you're not in a calm, relaxed and natural state, this is a sign that there isn't enough kidney chi. There isn't enough chi for intelligence, intelligent decisions and mind chi. There isn't enough connection with the universe, so it always has to be the will has to come or base, or if you're in a good and healthy state, your will be strong about making healthy decisions in a healthy way. Not just smart decisions, intelligent decisions. Yeah, the basis needs to be a good understanding and awareness about the standards of a life, the value of a life, and the purpose of health in our life. It seems so logical if we just hear this, the purpose of our life. Of course we want to be healthy. But the more we are in this topic of working with chi, body and mind, as a totality, following the universal laws, the more we do find out how so many things are involved, and it's not all that simple to just do this, to just follow the laws, because we are living in a certain way and we have gotten used to this and we have gotten accustomed to it, and this is the place where we feel safe, no matter how unsafe or safe it really is, but that's what we're used to, and this is why we feel somewhat safe. And when we cannot observe chi, it's going to be difficult to really understand how much decisions are influencing our health. About every little thing. You can save chi with the right way of farting, right? So when you fart, you should lift hui yin. I've just said in the moment when Janse told us this in the retreat, and I don't know, the whole retreat class was laughing out loud, He was quite serious actually about the right way of farting. Lifting hui yin, for example. And if you can, even pulling up to bai hui. Interesting, right? So when farting, and the right way of farting can save us a lot of kidney chi, what do you think, what will be your consequences of trying somehow, in a safe way is good, in a well thought through way is good too, in a very strong understanding and awareness about living your life in a healthy job and how you could change to have a healthier job. For example, for health practitioners, if you choose to work as a Ren Shui practitioner and a Ren Shui practitioner only, you might have less money for a while, or forever, I don't know yet. But you yourself aren't damaging yourself during your work anymore. See, the chi keeps gathering in as you are teaching or giving therapeutic sessions. Every other therapeutic session or every other medical service, all I see is everybody's very stressed under huge amounts of pressure, carries huge amounts of falsely perceived responsibility, because really no one can really be responsible for someone else's life to a degree. And a lot of people in the health modality, in the health world, are getting very sick. And they can't help themselves become healthy. So it pays off to look into those spheres of existence and how can we live our healthiest possible life also in our existential form, in ways of making a living. So all of this has a lot to do with kidney chi because of the will. And when will is strong, activity, healthy activity is possible. Remember last week I think I said that when our kidney chi is not very strong, we don't have energy. We want to lie down all the time. We need to lay down all the time. We don't want to be very active. In very strong, if this is very extreme, then it even can come up with antisocial behavior. Not wanting to interfere with social life whatsoever. Locking yourself into a room and so on. So once kidney chi is very, very, very weak, not, when there isn't a lot of kidney chi, the will to move also goes down a little bit. It has to do a little bit with liver chi as well, because liver chi is partially, liver gallbladder is involved in planning and making decisions, and then also is responsible for motivation. We hear more about liver. But so the nourishing cycle, right, the Sheng cycle, is that the kidney or the kidney bladder, water element, is nourishing wood element, which is liver and gallbladder. So again, we see the connection between one type of chi and the other type of chi. As I've been, putting information this week into the chi field, I became aware of one thing, and I would like to show you that. Even anatomically, we have looked at this aspect at some stage, but I would like to repeat this because I think it's quite interesting, really, really interesting. When you look at, we have the 5 yin organs, right? The main organs, which is the kidney, and the bladder would be the yang organ, the small organ, so to speak. Yeah, the kidney, the lungs, the heart, the liver, and the spleen. And if you think about it, so this is again the picture of the person from the back. So you see the buttocks, right? And then you see the kidneys. Do I need to point them out for you? No, right? They're 1 and 2. And the small organ is actually one of the lowest one, the bladder down here. So the kidneys are actually the lowest yin organ in the body, the foundation. Yeah. So then we have the spleen and the liver, and the heart would be here somewhere. We can't see it right now because it's in the front, and the lungs. Yeah. So isn't that interesting when we think about how kidney chi is our it holds the prenatal chi. It is our life chi. Yeah, Yanzi always says when the kidney chi is, kidney chi is going directly in to make dantian chi. So this is that's where dantian chi finds, because kidney chi stores the essence of chi and basically transforms into dantian chi. Our battery. And so even in an anatomical point of view from Western, when you look at the anatomy of the body, the kidneys are at the bottom. They're the foundation, and all the other big organs are on top. Just about, raising, I'm saying this to just raise more awareness about the importance of kidney chi health and the health of our kidneys. And we cannot achieve healthy kidneys with only regarding the anatomy or physiological aspects. So gathering kidney chi is very important. Last week we talked about catalyzing transformation. So this week the main topic is fear. And so just to, repeat a few things. When fear is present a lot, yes, we always go to extreme ways. For example, trauma, traumatic experiences. A lot of human beings have to deal with sexual abuse as children, and it's very obvious how really disruptive and damaging this can be to life. So a lot of wisdom is needed and a lot of understanding about life is needed for those people to overcome victimhood, to be able to become healthy again. A lot of people deal with, traumatic experience, basically every single one of us. And when we get stuck in fear, this stays a constant undercurrent. But there is other fear I would like to talk to you about today. And it's the fear that is also constant, but not aware, because it's not immediate fear. For example, everything that plays into our decisions, thinking about the way we live our lives and how we can save energy in our life makes a lot of sense, because the longer we have kidney G, the longer our life will be, and the healthier our kidney G is, the healthier all the other organ G is, and the longer we will have a body to live our lives. All the little fears we have, I don't know if you can even call it little, because the effect on kidney G isn't little whatsoever. Dealing and facing your fears is really, really important. We cannot just keep them sitting in the back burner and keep finding diversions. I know all about diversions. I'm the master of diversions and running away, So I've looked into this a lot. And you might really spend some time thinking about your behaviors and your thoughts on a day-to-day basis, like your job, like your, everything, actually. The way we eat, yes, but also, how do we deal with the fears that we are aware of? Do we go and challenge them? Or do we go and sit down quietly and think about them to find ways to take different actions? Yeah? So fear keeps us from activity. So when we never sit down in a very good state and think about which behavior is actually based on fear, or what are we not doing that would be beneficial and healthy, where is my limitations in my life, what do I stay away from because of fear, that would be beneficial in our life. And if we don't sit down and do that, how? It's going to freeze us more and more. This fear, any type of fear, or all the different types of fears, if it's lots little ones, I call them little, I keep calling them little. There's no little, it's our kidney G, it's our life G. And every speck of fear is going to take away some strength of your will, of you wanting to be active in a healthy way, calm, relaxed, peaceful, but active. actively taking responsibility for your life, it will take away from, producing bone marrow, and controlling, the strength of your bones, um, controlling the reception of chi, which is, interesting, because if we are too scared to face our fears, and this is why we don't practice. This is, I don't know about you, but this is one of my reoccurring problems in my life, and I know it's limiting myself, that often I get into this space where I need to push myself for practice, or I can't even get through, or even so Yuan Gong is so beautiful and so nice. And what I came up with is deep layers of fears, of, such incredible change that is happening with, the powerful methods we have, Yuan Gong, that we've gotten from Yangtze, and a big awareness, or, when the awareness keeps expanding, when your wisdom keeps expanding about your understanding of how much potential we could have, and how much change is involved, and we don't know yet what is behind that change. We don't know how it's going to be behind the change. So when we practice a lot of Yuan Gong, of course those changes will happen very fast. And so resistance might come from that, because we haven't made the connection that it actually is a fear that we're not facing right now, a fear that that is undercurrently, hidden deeply in our consciousness. And so it basically paralyzes us. That's what fear is doing. It paralyzes us. It freezes us. Yeah, and when we get into a place where we don't practice the first 4 methods, or the first 5, the work on chi itself is so hugely important, and at least do some pulling chi. But the physical methods 1 to 4 would be very important. At least do Dantian breathing. At least just draw chi in from the universe when you are living. Just the next decades of your life, work on facing your fear of change. Face the fear of you turning into a more highly developed person than the majority of humans around you yet. Face the fear of not knowing what comes after. Trust that, you have seen the results of having more chi, to use in your life. So trust that if you gather more chi, you will be having a healthier and more comfortable life, a life with a stronger sense of well-being, more wisdom, so it will be more enjoyable, it will be more peaceful, it will be more harmful. It pays off to save chi and gather chi everywhere. But to do this, we need to face the fears, because the fears are the things that are limiting us from taking action to actually change. Can you see now why it makes a lot of sense that fear is the mother of all emotions? All the other negative and unhealthy emotions rise or arise from being in fear or having fear. So in other words, facing our fears will bring us such a huge free space that we can use for, taking actions and living our life, for having healthier thought processes. This is very theoretic, I know. So let's look a little bit at the practice. So we have learned that kidney chi is governing the bones and the strength of bones. Let's see, what is our skeletal system doing for us? What are the bones doing? Have you ever seen a science cartoon? I have seen a science cartoon at some stage in my life that showed that when you would take out the bones of a body, what would happen? And it looked like just a sack of gooey stuff that, that just, so there's the upstanding, upright human being, and if you take the bones out, all the tissues and all the gooey stuff just gets into a puddle on the floor, So we wouldn't be upright without a skeleton, without our bones. So in a way, we could also say that, we see again this connection from kidney chi governing the bones governing our upright lifestyle. They actually make it possible for us to have activity, to live activity. They are giving us our structure. They're giving us our fundamental structure. That's what bones do, right? So again, isn't that interesting, the connection of knowing about prenatal chi and, being kidney chi and storing information and then making it possible that we actually are a structure. I hope you got the picture with, the bones being taken out of a human body and what would happen with the tissues and all, the brain and everything without the structural bones. So let's have a look at, this way to see that when fear is constantly there, fear of the unknown, how important is learning to know more. And not only, here this is why we need chi again, not just learning anything. You can learn, I had an interesting talk with my neighbor yesterday. You can read all the books in all the libraries of this world. There is a lot of books there that are not based on the universal laws, so you might as well learn anything. We have to make sure that we learn things that are really following the universal laws, because otherwise they will not be beneficial for our health. Because if we don't follow universal laws of health, we will not be healthy. We won't be able to be healthy. And when we're not healthy, again, this is a fundament. Think about it. When we have lost our health, it is pretty difficult to be happy. And if someone tells you that you can't make yourself healthy anymore where you are at the moment, it's very difficult to be happy. So, facing our fears of what we don't know is important, but we need to think about what we learn, and that's why we learn about qi. And that's why we also practice qi, not just to become healthy because of the amount of qi and the better flow of qi, but the information that we have present in our stored, which is kidney qi, stored in our shen and in our body's abilities to store, it's all, the kidney qi actually is storing qi in what we understand also as cellular memory these days. That's all of these aspects kidney qi is doing. What we learn is important because it determines how we can face our fears. If you look at people with, diseases of the bone structure, when do most human beings get things like osteoporosis? Arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis? It's not exactly a bone thing, but it is a joint thing. It has to do with bones. Yeah? When we're older, the density or denseness? No, the density of the bones is what goes away. So also it's interesting, osteoporosis is something that is prone, women are very prone to have osteoporosis more than men. What do we women need for building babies? We need our kidney qi for building babies. It's the prenatal qi, Remember, prenatal qi is coming from the parents and from the universe. So this is where the information is stored. Western medicine so far is within DNA. Actually it's stored within kidney qi, and that's how we give forward information. So you can see that when you build a baby with kidney qi, often women who have had lots of children have osteoporosis or deformations of the spine, and so on. Also, we can see how the bones are getting shorter and smaller, right? As we go older, the spine is not that erect anymore, and just the whole person seems seemingly getting smaller. The structure is given by bones. So, as we are taking time often in our life to be in a healthy and relaxed state and to think about and to dig out our fears and to remove fears, to face our fears, and to not in a challenging way, not, I've talked about this already, not in an extreme way of, in pressure, just in a relaxed, healthy state, lying down or sitting and thinking consciously about your fears. Where do you feel limited? What do you need to think about to, where is the limitations in your life? Where are you limiting yourself? Psychology has this super great term, they call it self-sabotage. It seems to be very modern. I just have to think of one student of us. She said to me, it's one of those touchy-feely things that we like to do in California. So the term self-sabotage is also very common and very, very much liked right now when we do touchy-feely things like psychology or looking at our life. So What is self-sabotage? Self-sabotage is actually not facing our fears, not sitting down or lying down or thinking in a very relaxed state about our fears and, facing them. This is the first step. Remember, last week we talked about catalyst. If we don't even are aware of our fears, we are just like, puppets. We are just being, governed by our fears. And believe it or not, every decision is actually having to do with the fears that we carry, the fears that we have. Now, as we go along on this process, you will probably find out one very interesting thing. Most of our fears are stories of our mind. Do I say this or do I not say this? I'm not sure. Janse usually doesn't worry much about saying words. It's a big thing in America to not say this word. It's the F-U-C-K word. I call it a mind F-U-C-K. For me personally in my life, because it helps me better to see how, stories of the mind. It's so gentle. And I usually need a bit stronger information to break through my stubborn head, from my thick head. And when there is a fake, a false, and not real story going on in my head, a fear, then often, I need to become aware that it is mind F-U-C-K. And so I'm like, oh, don't do this to yourself. First, relax. You can't change it in this state when I feel fear or when I feel I'm stuck. Usually when I feel stuck in a problem, I'm like, right, hey, become aware, this is a fear. You feel some limitations, you feel like you have no space, you feel like you can't get forward, you don't feel very healthy, or you don't feel very comfortable often is a very good indicator for fear. You feel frozen, a form of paralyzedness. You don't want to step forward, or you have been dealing with a problem a long time. Long-standing problems are usually also all going back to some mind F-U-C-K, some fears. Now, important. Fear, the emotion itself, is not a non-reality. Okay? Have you ever made this sensation when you get scared? How your weak knees, how your knees just hold up anymore. I think I talked about this in one of the other classes. It's like just everything rushes down and you can't stand up anymore. That's because the kidney chi is dispersed downwards, just going down in a very fast way, going out through the feet into the universe. It's not staying in us. And so the knees get very weak. This is a reality. The emotion of fear is not a mind story, okay? The difference is that the stories that our mind tells us, or that maybe even not tells us, so we might not be aware of the fear, it still is a story somewhere in our mind. The limitation, the frozenness, the paralyzedness comes from something that we are not dealing with because we are feeling some form of fear of it. But that's it, we might not feel it. It might be going in a very strong, deep layer of our consciousness. That's where it might be existing, the story. But the emotion of fear itself is a reality. The fear that we have from something, or something in the future, or that something that once happened to us might happen again. Just because something has happened to you once, a lot of people use it as a proof almost. Like, no, I know I've had this experience. This experience has had the consequences or the outcome of that. And that's why I'm afraid of this experience, because I don't want this outcome. The thing is, the fear itself isn't a reality in this case. This is a story of the mind, because when we do something, we can do something differently, and so the outcome will be different. I'm not happy yet. I don't get the clarity. I'm trying to help you see something. Do you know what I mean? I'm trying to help you see the understanding of, so you don't, not that you think, every fear is a mind story, is not a reality. I'm trying to establish the difference within language. So the emotion of fear is an ability of our Shen and Qi to respond in a certain way. So when someone is attacking you with a knife or with a gun, that's a modern problem, but not common. Well, depending on where you live, really. But war. What do? You move away. You try to find ways to get away from the fear. The emotion in itself is a reality. But what I'm trying to explain, and currently not yet finding a very well way, I feel. Okay, let me try to go from a different angle here. Let's go back to the Qi, foundation Qi. Here it goes better, I think. So, when your kidney Qi is weak, you will feel fear very soon into an issue. You will feel a lot of fear. When the kidney Qi is getting weaker and weaker, you will feel it in form of panic and anxiety and angst, things like that. But what you feel is reality, but it does come from something that is rooted within weak kidney Qi, and because the kidney Qi is weak, a story in your mind was able to tell you something. So when you, obviously, there's no absolute. Not every fear is a story of your mind. But that's what I'm trying to talk about today. I'm trying to face our fears. We have to do that. The stories in our mind, those are the fears we have to face. I'm not talking about that when you have a fear of sharks, that you go and swim with a free white shark. Now I think I'm getting where I want. Do you see what I mean? Facing our fears doesn't mean to face the reality side of our fears. If you have a fear of heights, there's not really a need that you go and bungee jump, or that you hang out on the edge of a cliff all day long. Maybe an example helps better. Because I was missing so much understanding, and the whole world, which is a whole huge part of a human's reality, I was missing the whole world of chi as a child. So I was aware that there's fear, but my only way to dealing with it was challenging myself. So I would go into very dangerous sports situations. That's what I did. I don't know, these days, that time I didn't know why it was until I kind of understood, hey, maybe it isn't so smart to put myself in between huge waves every day. Put myself in danger is not a healthy way of facing fears. That is putting yourselves in harm's way. That is not healthy for kidney chi. Okay? When I say, what I've learned from Yance, but today I'm saying it, so face your fears. This is what Yance kept saying to me, face your fears, face your fears. In the book Wellbeing Begins With You, I was, asked to please write about fears because I did quite a lot of that. And it is really the truth about yourself will then set you free. So when you find your fears, the stories in your head, like, I don't want to do this, or the sensation of, I don't want to go there because I don't know what is there, or because this is going to be a lot of work, or this is going to be very difficult, and, I might not succeed, or I might, step on someone else's toes. I might be, there's so many fears we have. I might look like an idiot. I might be such a weirdo if I go out and talk about chi in a serious medical world. So I'm talking about my fears right now. You relate to yourself, okay? That's what I mean with face your fears, okay? When someone really would be standing in front of you with a gun, what are you gonna do? Relaxing is a good idea. Actually, what you're gonna feel is what is kidney chi that isn't strong enough, that's being activated, because you can't change the situation in this very moment very much. When someone tells you not to move or they will shoot you, what do you do then? Best not to move, probably. I have not been in that situation with a gun, so I don't know. When kidney chi is very strong and you have a knowledge about how you are living forever, you probably don't react with fear, and your Shen is going to react very well, and you probably find a way out of this situation. Either talk yourself out or just calmly wait it out, or you're just gonna calmly get shot, die, and live another life after that. Do you see how it's difficult when we talk about every fear, or when it's not the emotion you feel? The emotion fear you feel is the actual activated chi, the kidney chi. But the story behind the fear itself is actually a story in your head, in our heads, when we have fears. And this is why we need to think about them when we're in not fearful states, when we're in a healthy state, in a relaxed state. When we are in a peaceful state, in a harmonious state. This is when we want to see where do you want to go? So where do I want to go in my life? How can I be healthy? How can I benefit my life? How can I benefit other people's life without damaging myself? How can I be happy? Why am I not happy? Where is the limitations? What am I scared of? What am I afraid of? And then in this healthy state, you will get answers and then you can take action. And if you don't have the willpower, the motivation, or the energy to take action, then you know, oh, I need to gather more chi. This this can be a process of years and years and years. So, you gain an insight and you then go through a short time of, or a longer time, you go through a time of fear, perceiving it actually, as soon as you have the awareness. And in that time, you need to take care of your kidney chi. What is it that I have anxiety about? Where is the panic coming from? What is the information? What is the story in my mind? What is the information in my Shen? Going ahead and thinking about this, and probably you will feel, as you become more aware, you probably will be aware of having this fear. So what do you think will happen? You might be feeling it more. Because obviously you're aware. That's why the next step is so important. That's why it's important that we learn to adjust our state. So we can face our fears without hanging out in the reality of the emotion of fear. Yeah? So when the awareness comes up, you might be prone to feeling more of whatever fear you found. That's why it's so important that you learn how to understand the difference between having found awareness and having found a fear and limitation, and now not giving into it, so to speak, in a way of not letting go of your state of consciousness. The healthy state of consciousness, relaxed, calm, natural, peaceful, harmonious. Rather, strengthen the awareness that you are now aware and that you are now working on it, and you will find solutions and you will take away the limitation. You will crawl or jump over the hurdle. You will remove the hindrance. You will remove the blockage somehow. And if it's a fundamental fear, if it's something that has limited your life, of actually having the spark so it can flow in all directions. If it's been one of those fears, you might be at it for a few years. Those kinds of stories in the head, those kinds of fears, they have formed neurological pathways. What is the anatomical foundation? For what are neurological pathways the foundation? Patterns, right? So once you have a pattern of fear of something, it will take a lot of action often to keep facing that fear, gaining more understanding, facing it again, trying to do some beneficial action against the fear. So now you can also see why often, why the ankles and the feet and the knees and the hips are involved in kidney health or in kidney chi, because we can't step forward in life when there's not healthy kidney chi. Yeah. I'm starting to get happier about now, about what I've tried to express today, about the importance of fear, and to really help, help you see the connections between fear and our life not being the way we feel safe, healthy, comfortable, well, wise, happy. Out of my experience, usually what I can share with you is that after 5-6 years, after about 4 years or something like that in Ren Shui, I don't know, let's not put a time on it. The fears I'm dealing with now, than the fears I have faced in the beginning of Ren Shui, the first 2-3 years, are literally completely different. But they are rooted in my patterns. So the fears I have been facing a few years back were having the same foundation, fear pattern. Now the fear pattern is more expanded. What does that mean? It means that seemingly the work on self seems to get more difficult. But I don't see it like this. The less we know of ourselves, the less aware we are of the fears that are hindering us and are underlying to every other emotion and behavior and decision, the more difficult life is. As you go along and you face your fears, very often, one by one, you have to sometimes pay all the attention to one fear only. Is the fear of maybe having to forgive your father or your mother for something they have done, or another family member or another human being. The fear of, not being in the position of being right anymore, or the fear of having to give up, of being a victim. It's a place that we very easily go to say, this was done to me, and I had no control over it, so I got nothing to do with it. It is a very easy way out. The fear that is often behind that is the fear of accepting that we might have had some influence because of cause and effect, even if we don't see it. And the fear behind that is to have done not wrong, not right by ourselves. At some stage we haven't taken responsibility or care of ourselves. We didn't do something beneficial, or we allowed our fears to just keep on ruling it, our Qi getting weakened, and to our Shen getting weakened and making informed decision. Not well-informed decisions. So as we go along, so it takes often some time, and all of your days, energy, besides all the things you have to do, right? So you have to still go and organize your food. You have to, shop and cook. You might have to take care of family. Then you might, you have to take care of your body and the Qi, so you have to do your praxis or some exercise that is not Qi depleting. Good luck with finding something like this if you don't know how to dungeon breathe or gather chi while you walk or swim or whatever, ride your bike. Um, you have to keep earning a living, so you have to do your job or any kind of job in a way. Um, and then you have to find some time to think and invest into facing the fear that you're currently working on. Find time and chi. You have to have some chi resources to actually face the fear and the limitation that you're currently working on. So being in a healthy state is first and foremost necessary to keep being able to keep facing this fear. And often when we have found a fear and we have been at it for 2 or 3 years, we can get into this. Remember the web class I did on this process of going up and down, but in a spiral we do go up. But sometimes when we're in this opening and closing and the instability between opening and closing, this transformation time, we sometimes, the fear can take over again, and the paralyzation and the frozen feeling, the fight-flight response can take over, and we're just frozen again. We can't take action, and often, we might lose determination. And when we lose determination, we lose our good state. And when we lose our good state, we have lost awareness about the actual limitation. And it might feel like we're at square one. And then thoughts come up like, I should feel better. I've been doing all this important work. I should feel better. I'm talking to you guys now who have been longer in Ren Shui and who are facing deeper fears right now, but who you are not clear yet about those fears. Keep looking in a healthy state, really consciously. What is it that is limiting you from feeling well? What is it that makes you feel frozen and locked in? What is it that what fear is it? Keep facing it until you found it, and then keep replacing it. A lot of determination is needed. And what is determination if not willpower? So can you see how difficult this path is to face the fears when you need willpower to face the fears? But when kidney chi is weak, you don't have a lot of willpower and fear is high. So have patience with you. Work on, keep trusting the universe. For years and years we didn't know how to get out of the muck. We didn't know how to get out of the swamp, the fango, which is Spanish. We didn't know how to get out of the suffering. That's why, maybe life always got worse and worse and worse instead of better and better and better. But now you do have learned things that do go with the beneficial and healthy development of human life, planet life, universal life, the universe. When you can work with chi according to the laws, and you can work with your body according to your laws, and you can work with information, your Shen, and the ability of your Shen according to the laws of the universe. It's a huge difference. Now you have chi and the knowledge about chi in your life. And that's why you can, see connection and relations between things. So you can face your fears differently, and you will find solutions for your fears. Life will get better. It will happen. It just might take a few years. But you have got 80, 90, 100, 110, 120, depending on how much chi you're pulling in, depending on how strong you make your batteries and how little you use, you have years and years. Let's not live further with our fears. Let's not allow the stories, the non-reality stories in our minds. They might have some reality foundations, but fear in itself is chi moving, is a non-reality yet, and with a healthy state we can change it. Let's all together not further limit our lives. Let's step forward, let's face our fears. And, everyone for ourselves. And if we need support, you can get support. Best is from someone who has some understanding about totality, chi, body and shen. Then get support. But mainly, most of this work has to be done from yourself, because no one can be with you 24/7 and keep facing the fears for you. Keep replacing better information instead of the fear information. Keep replacing information that is limiting you with less limiting, more beneficial information and behavior. Let's all go and do this on a daily basis and help each other with the determination, with understanding of why facing our fears is so difficult at times. Let's all get healthy and happy and peaceful. If every one of us is doing this work, we will not be controlled by anything or anybody, because we can keep our stories in a balanced way, in a healthy state of mind. And we also don't need to control others. We will be at peace. And it all comes from facing our fears. Chi is inexhaustible in the universe. The universe supplies you with everything you need. The universe is sending you enough material to make anything you need for being healthy, happy and peaceful. There is enough chi and information and intelligence there. And you can make everything out of chi if you follow the laws of life. Everything you need to be healthy and happy and peaceful, you are supplied with. The danger is within not knowing about the laws. The danger is within not being unified. The danger is within not knowing, not understanding, not facing the fears. The danger is not just because it's there. So we need to face the seemingly dangerous things in a healthy way, and we will be healthy. Okay. So if you've sat cross-legged, let's draw chi back and open your legs. Draw your vision back, closing your eyes. Lifting from Bai Hui. Think of your kidney and bladder chi. Have your back in a good position, your pelvis. Lift Hui Yin. Bring your hands back to the kidneys. Rub chi into your kidneys. And then vibrate chi down the sacrum to the outside of your pelvis and hips. thighs, guide chi down, vibrate down the knees, outside of your legs. Chi's ankles, chi's flowing freely to the feet, back up to the knees. Vibrate chi up inside to the groin, and then overlap your hands and nourish chi. Unify with the chi field and draw unify with the chi field and draw all the information back to the center of your head. Feel the courage and the willpower fulfilling you. Feel the determination you have to face the limitations of your life. Feel all the energy you have for doing that. And feel the wisdom of knowing that more energy will come out of that for you. Unify with the chi field again. Draw chi back to lower dantian. Chi is abundant in lower dantian. And like always, if you have gotten into a really beautiful state, go ahead, hang out in the state a little bit longer, keep nourishing chi as the chi of the chi field keeps flowing into dantian, because your mind is in dantian. Just stay there and and do the head and face a little while later. Thank you. Thank you so much. Let's trust.